What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. And break down what's going on with the market thus far, what economic data is coming out that's very important, what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I get into all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon. Anyways, when looking at Tesla, you guys can see something very interesting. Tesla has this resistance trend line right over here where we're getting the small rejection from. We're going to be watching this key support right over here to see if Tesla could hold these levels. Now, a lot has come out for the markets when it comes to Jerome Powell and the data, so I want to talk about that first before I break down more details about Tesla stock. Now, Jerome Powell came out yesterday on 60 Minutes, and he basically ended up saying things that the market wasn't really that fond of. Let me just pause that for a second. The US futures have dipped as Jerome Powell has chilled rate cut hopes, and he's basically saying the same thing as before. He mentioned that basically the Fed needs more positive economic data to come out in order for them to be confident to cut rates, and so far they have to just wait and see. He also mentioned that it's unlikely for them to cut in March, and he basically just repeated the same things he's been saying constantly on 60 Minutes. So basically, it's just the same thing as what he said during the previous FOMC meeting. Nothing new, but this has caused the market to dip just a bit because of what he's saying about the rate cuts. Now, on top of this, there's going to be more economic data coming out for today. The S&P Global Composite PMI and Global Services PMI is all coming out at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 15 minutes after the market opens for today. And then 30 minutes after market open, we have even more data coming out. Watch the ISM services PMI, the services new orders, and the services prices. Those are all going to be very, very important. I would say two important things to watch for the services new orders because this tends to affect inflationary data alongside services prices. So watch for volatility at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 30 minutes after the market opens. That's going to be very, very important. This could cause some volatility in the markets. Now, when it comes to earnings, we had Caterpillar and McDonald's that just announced. We also have Palantir after the market closes, and then these are the rest of the earnings for the remainder of the week. But basically, Caterpillar did relatively well because they ended up breaking another record, a big profit beats, and pretty good looking forecasts with decent guidance. So not bad from Caterpillar. But McDonald's was not doing as well because the revenue has missed estimates, very mixed earnings, if anything, and guidance was a little bit unclear. So it was very mixed, if anything, which is a little negative for them. We actually saw McDonald's drop. So for Tesla, what's the news involving Tesla? Elon Musk. There's some negative news involving him, which is a little bad for Tesla. This is part of why Tesla's tipping, at least for now. Basically, it involves substances and things which are not good. So it's not good for any company to have a CEO which is involved in all this. Not saying it's true or false, it's just what the media is reporting. So we'll see how this goes, but I just want to say this is kind of negative news. On top of this, the Tesla Giga Berlin Model Y production appears to have reached 6,000 per week, which is one of their big expectations. That's good news for them. And there's once again lots and lots of assiduous workers who have my admiration. So, once again, great job to the entire team to achieve this. And with 6,000 Model Y crossovers in 1 week, that is very impressive stuff from them. So, that's some big news, if anything, from Tesla. There's also news right here. Tesla has dropped the Model Y prices in Canada, and now access up to about $12,000 in a rebate in Quebec is there. So that's some big news in Canada. Excuse me. It's a very, very slight drop right over here, nothing too crazy. It's down about $4,000 for some prices here and there. So some price cuts in Canada to bring up demand. But they also increased the Model 3 long range price as well, just slightly. It's about 47,000. That's a $1,000 increase in the US. So some changes have been made. Overall, not really affecting Tesla as much. So what am I seeing right here? Basically, what you'll notice is that Tesla has this range right over here where we tend to get these rejections off this trend line. We also have a lot of rejections close to 190. We also have a lot of support right here between 184 and then 182 on Tesla. So as long as we hold above 182.5, as long as we're in this 182 to 184 range, Tesla could try to rebound, try to push, and maybe even try to get back above this trend line towards 188. We could rebound as long as Tesla tries to hold this support right over here, this range of support 182.5 and 184. If we end up losing 182, there's going to be a risk of us coming down towards 180 down here. If we lose that, we're going to turn a lot more bearish. So, in my opinion, with these rejections coming at this yellow resistance, Tesla could rebound just a little bit, get a little bit tighter, and we're going to be watching to see if we can get a bounce. As long as we hold above 182, we're going to be fine. But if we lose that, we could turn a little bit more bearish. So watch and see how well we hold it. For now, Tesla's attempting to hold 184, is kind of shuffling and trading sideways. It looks very sideways in my opinion, so it might come back down here, push up very, very slightly, and just continue to be very tight. But we'll have to see if we could try to hold 182 at the very least. As long as we hold that, we're going to be fine. 182.5. As long as we hold that, we could attempt to rebound. So watch that very carefully. Tesla's dropping as expected yesterday, thanks to Jerome Powell and other factors. For SPY, we basically have this support zone between 492.5 and 491.5. We came very close to this 492 area. These are the two breakout areas, this 492.5 area and then 491.5. If we lose 491, there's going to be a risk of us turning bearish to drop to 489. But as long as we hold above this range or even bounce off of this, SPY could try to rebound and start pushing up to these higher levels, back up to 495 plus, and even get to a new all-time high. So as long as SPY holds 492.5 or 491.5. The 491 is basically as long as we hold above that, we could rebound. If we lose it, we could turn bearish. Otherwise, we're going to likely try to bounce. So right now, I think SPY is going to try to hold above this range and try to push back up. There's a very good chance that that's going to pan out. But don't forget, it also depends on the data that's coming out. This data is going to be very important. So technicals alone are not everything. We'll see what happens at 9:45 a.m. and 10 a.m. Watch the ISM services data in the S&P PMI. So be prepared for that, guys, and do what you have to do. I think SPY might retest this and then try to bounce. As long as we hold that zone, we're going to be completely fine. On the QQQ, it's the same thing as SPY. We did retrace just a little bit back down to 427. If we lose that, so we could be looking for 425. And if we try to rebound, we can be looking for this thing to test the all-time high at 429 to 430. If we break that, 432 is our next target. So we're very tight right now on the QQQ, going back and forth and back and forth. Look for a little drop. And we're going to be watching if this liquidity holds over here. If we hold 427 on the QQQ, we could see this thing attempts to rebound and bounce. So watch that very, very carefully. What's helping the QQQ is Nvda. So we could see this thing attempt to break out higher thanks to Nvda and also Aapl. So I'll be watching this very carefully. Could rebound towards this support and then try to bounce off that. So watch that very carefully. Why else is the QQQ pumping? Well, Nvidia is on fire again, breaking out of this. I actually thought Nvidia would retrace a bit first and then try to bounce. It actually didn't do that. It's just continuing to break out. So at this point, make sure you watch these levels. We have 687 as resistance, 692, and eventually 700. And we have support from the breakout zone at 680, not to mention 675. I think that Nvidia could shuffle a bit in this range, but eventually I just see it heading towards 700 now. Could take a few days, but I think 700 is coming. Nvidia is still very strong and very bullish, so it still could help the QQQ pump. Same thing with Aapl. Aapl has a nice setup. Let me just call this out real quick. If we look at Aapl's setup, basically this is what Aapl looks like. We have like a left shoulder here. We have a head, and we have like a right shoulder forming. Are we going to reject, grab liquidity, and then start pushing, or are we just going to pump from here? Either way, it looks like it could pump, and this could help the market push a little higher. So Apple looks bullish, especially if we break 188. We could be pushing back up to 190, making a full-on recovery after the dip that came from earnings. So it's looking bullish. The setup is bullish. Looks like it's going to try to push, so that's going to help the market to some extent. So with the market potentially pushing, this might help Tesla push a little bit later. I know Tesla's relatively weak because of all the bad news that came out involving Elon Musk and such. So if Tesla were to dip more, make sure you watch these supports. 184 is the support, also 182.5. As long as we hold that, we're going to be fine. We could rebound, try to push into the mid 180s, and maybe even try to break out. Also, 180 is the critical support. We have to hold above that as well. But the most The bigger one I'm going to be watching right now is 182.5 and also 184. Do we bounce off 184 or do we bounce off 182.5? As long as we hold above that, we're going to be fine. Tesla could try to rebound, so make sure you watch that level carefully. We have resistance at this yellow trend line at 186.5, not to mention 180, basically very close to 188. If we break that, 190 is coming next. So watch it test the zone and try to rebound. With that being said, guys, we'll see how things go. Make sure you watch the data once again. 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and 10 a.m. Watch for volatility because of this data, and then make sure you guys pay attention to the technical levels I called out. With that being said, have a great day. Do what you have to do, guys, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you, and peace out.